Like everything Israel said Hamas was doing, everything Israel claimed Hamas was doing, they actually got these collaborators to do. Okay? Every single thing. And obviously, Israel not only was urging them to do this, but they were also giving them the weapons to do this. And they were literally doing it from their base. For the most famous version of this is obviously Abu Shabab. Anyway, Newsom censored Trump's neck. Oh, dude, I saw Trump is. I saw this. This is one of the funniest things that's taken place. So, number one, the ceasefire is not even like 100% complete yet. The most consequential aspect of this ceasefire that will make it long lasting and a real ceasefire, unlike the previous iterations of it, are obviously going to be whether or not Trump can force Israel's hand into actually ceasing the fire, right? And that part hasn't happened yet. And yet, every single outlet, every single liberal institution, Time Magazine, everyone is like, Trump is the peace president. He's pee-pee, right? He's doing it. He's doing the damn thing. Now, I've been a little bit more restrained in my celebrations because I'm obviously a little bit concerned about whether or not this will actually hold. There are some signs that it might, especially because of how much Donald Trump has said he wants this to happen and how much praise he's gotten. You know, I think a little bit of positive reinforcement in that regard doesn't hurt. Having said that, there is one aspect that Donald Trump has actually despised, even though he's been on a tear. He's been actually getting decently positive media coverage for this. There's one aspect of the media coverage that he seemingly doesn't like. Now, obviously, we're going to talk about how Israel has already violated the ceasefire and whatnot, but he hated this photo. He apparently hated this photo. He got really heated about this photo, and he said this: Time Magazine wrote a relatively good story about me, but the picture may be the worst of all time. They disappeared my hair and then had something floating on top of my head that looked like a floating crown, but an extremely small one. Really weird. I never like taking pictures from underneath angles, but this is a super bad picture and deserves to be called out. What are they doing and why? I mean, this is the most relatable he's ever been. This is the most relatable he's ever been, low key. But it is also incredibly funny that he's just like super butthurt about the angle of the photo because he is uggo to the max. That's just how you look, my man. You have way worse photos than this. I would go so far as to say, I mean, he has a point. It's a bad photo. Guys, it's Donald Trump. What angle is a good angle? What do you mean? Get real, okay? Get real. This is supposed to be like an angle that makes him look powerful, you know? Like this is supposed to be the aura shot. Like he looks like that. What are we talking about? He doesn't have any good photos. That's just what he looks like. It's really funny that he's just like mad about this and people are like, well, you know, it's just like a bad angle. It's like, is there a good angle? Have you seen his like new White House photo where he's like doing this in his new White House like portrait shot that he posted? Like it's not like he looks good in any of those photos. It just looks like shit all the time. The reason why he's mad about this is because it shows that he's like clearly balding. That's it. And the nussy is prominent and powerful, and I like it. I like the nussy. Okay, I like the nussy. Okay, but not to defend Trump, but I get it. Like, you know, give him a chance. This is the iconic one. Unedited people went on to Photoshop it though. Yeah, like he just doesn't look good. In general, he is not a guy that looks good. That's it. You think he asked Laura Loomer to jiggle it? Oh, God. Laura, she's a free spirit. She jiggles my nussy like no one's ever before. Let me tell you. Trump is... oh, shit. Trump is going to arrest the Time reporters, the photojournalists that took the photo. Why are you making me look bald? I am not bald. Everyone knows I have perfect hair. Look at that perfect hair. I do not have a nussy. Many people are saying I have a nussy. This is very distasteful. Wait, this is how you can honor This is how you can honor Charlie Kirk. In honor of Charlie Kirk's 31 years on Earth, here are 31 ways to live like him. Jesus Christ. What the hell, man? Anyway, yeah, Trump is mad about it. Gruesome Governor Gav Newsom is shitting on him over it. And yeah, we're gonna get into all of it. Okay, we're gonna get into all of it. Trump is obviously back in the United States of America. He's back in the United States finally. Yesterday was a very interesting, chaotic day full of interesting things that took place, where Donald Trump basically brought together everyone else, seemingly, other than the regional actors that are either experiencing a genocide or doing the genocide. And you know, he did the humiliation ritual for all of the Western leaders that wanted to participate. He did a humiliation ritual for all of the people that wanted to participate from all around the world. He just basically sat there and bullied them. Yeah, it was very interesting to watch Keir Starmer, also known as Kid Starver, get told to do spot training with Kaya. You know, similar to Kaya's spot training, where I say place. Just odd to see, you know, a person who is supposed to command the legacy of an empire that never the son 13 colony lead, all the way down to being a servile little gremlin to Donald Trump on camera. So much so that all of the other world leaders that were next to him started laughing. Like Mark Carney straight up starts laughing in Keir Starmer's face. Okay. Yeah, from blowing a 13 colony lead to blowing 13 bubbles on it, for sure. So all of that stuff took place. And meanwhile, obviously on the other side, you have Palestinians that are trying to go back to their homes, or what remains of their homes is mostly just reduce the rubble. And they are trying to rebuild. They're trying to rebuild. They're trying to survive. And meanwhile, there's obviously some chaos that's taking place in the restructuring in the Gaza Strip. Like all of the collaborator clans and you know, ISIS affiliates and other criminal elements that were unleashed upon the Strip in the process by Israel are getting apprehended. And there's some chaotic incidents that have taken place. Like one of the gangs allegedly shot and killed a very famous Palestinian reporter. And then there's been retaliation on top of that. We'll obviously dive into it as well. We'll dive into we'll dive into like what has taken place in terms of like Hamas regaining control as the only organizing body on the Strip until they basically dissolve or give up control to a technocratic committee comprised of all of the different factions within Gaza. And it's really interesting because like a lot of people have been complaining about it, right? A lot of people are like saying, well, there's chaos. Hamas is killing people. There's like Hamas is killing people. And Donald Trump straight up came out, as he often does, as he did yesterday as well on that plane, and said, yep, it's right. It's happening. Let's take a look.
Very, very bad gangs, and they did take them out, and they killed a number of gang members. And that didn't bother me much, to be honest with you. That's okay. We had a couple of very bad gangs. You know, it's no different than other countries. Like Venezuela sent their gangs into us, and we took care of those gangs. We have Washington, D.C.
Like, not only is he saying that these are very bad gangs, like, and he's not wrong. Like, these are ISIS affiliates. These are comprised of like drug dealers, ISIS affiliates, and people that Israel gave weapons to specifically to create an environment of chaos at the point of aid distribution and aid delivery. Like everything Israel said Hamas was doing, everything Israel claimed Hamas was doing, they actually got these collaborators to do. Okay? Every single thing. And obviously, Israel not only was urging them to do this, but they were also giving them the weapons to do this, and they were literally doing it from their base. For the most famous version of this is obviously Abu Shabab, Yasser Abu Shabab, who was in prison for drug dealing, that Israel broke him out of prison after October 7, and then basically gave him a bunch of money, gave him some weapons, gave him aerial coverage with drones and whatnot to support him. And obviously, you might know Yasser Abu Shabab, despite the fact that he is illiterate and can't even read or write in Arabic, from his Wall Street Journal opinion editorial piece that he wrote. Clearly, it was him who wrote that. That's, you might know that from his, because I'm not the biggest fan of the guy, but he's a mean writer. He's a really good op-ed writer. He wrote for the Wall Street Journal. So in any case, Hamas and like the interior security apparatus that exists currently is punishing the collaborators and creating some semblance of stability in the Gaza Strip. Okay, and it's interesting that Donald Trump, in the classic Trumpian way, is openly saying it. Like, he's just like, yeah, these guys are dealing with like some really bad gangs. These guys are dealing with some really bad gangs. These are some really brutal gangs. He's not saying that like it was gangs armed by Israel, okay? Even though that is the case. But the very fact that he's saying that instead of using the Hasbara line of like, well, these guys are brutal barbarians, is very interesting.
Is one of the safest cities in the country. It was one of the worst cities in the country if you go back just a little while ago, right? Now it's safe. You can walk to work. Isn't it nice? And
stuff like this gives me a little bit more confidence that he obviously wants the ceasefire to stick, and he sees Hamas as like the only party that he can he sees Hamas as like the only party that can maintain stability and push the ceasefire to stick. Okay? New Trump defends Hamas crackdown on gangs in Gaza, likens the cleaning up Washington, D.C. Speaking for the White House, Trump said Hamas did take out a couple of gangs that were very bad and killed a number of gang members. And that didn't bother me much, to be honest with you, he added. That's okay. Trump compared to how his own administration handled violent gangs, claiming Venezuela sent their gangs. Now, of course, when Donald Trump is talking about like what he's doing with like domestic, he's doing with like the domestic incidents, like there's a difference between a resistance faction that is trying to literally, in the imminent aftermath of a pause in this genocide, restore some semblance of order, versus the most powerful nation on the planet creating a fake environment to start executing people carte blanche with no repercussions whatsoever, off of faulty claims that they're actually violent gang members. So there is no comparison between like what Hamas is doing with what the United States of America has been doing, for the record. Like, that's not a real comparison. But it's funny that that's like the only thing he can, like, I like that he's using Hamas as a positive here in terms of like dealing with criminal elements, while simultaneously saying we're just like Hamas, because that's what this is. That's what he's saying here. He's saying my administration is just like Hamas, dealing with violent drug dealers and gang members in the most violent ways possible. Like, he's using Hamas as a positive force, okay? Which is very strange. It's a very strange thing to hear from a fucking American president or any American politician. This is outflanking. This is outflanking Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is outflanking every left politician whatsoever. Like, this is an accurate reflection of what's taking place in the Gaza Strip without actually thinking about the why, the reasons as to why this kind of violence is taking place on the Strip. But it's shocking to me that he is able to just say that. Okay? He's just able to be like, yeah, that's right. Hamas, they're restoring order. Any other person, I mean, this is truly a Teflon Don moment, because any other American figure that says something like this, they would get fucking destroyed. Okay? They would get fucking destroyed. And I still think the reason why he's saying this is because he hasn't gotten the proper Hasbara notes on this. And he partially thinks that in order to make this ceasefire stick, which is clear that he wants the ceasefire to stick, the party that he has to align with, the more responsible party, the party that actually will generate the stability necessary for the ceasefire to hold, is going to be the existing resistance structure, which is currently which is currently led by Hamas, which is, unexpected from Donald Trump. But I guess he has his moments like that. This is yet another interesting Trump moment brought to you by his lack of interest in learning what the appropriate talking points are. Anyway, there was also some other moments from this press conference. We'll just get to it. We'll get to the press conference here because it's 5 minutes long. I'll just start with that. DRM News. The main point is that he says Hamas will disarm. They told me, and we'll talk about that ahead about anything. No, I agree, which is precisely the reason why yesterday, when I first heard him say something similar about all of the activity, all of the stability operations that Hamas was engaging in and the interior security was engaging in, when Donald Trump defended that, what did I tell you? I said, he doesn't know what the talking points are. He doesn't realize that Israel would use this chaos under normal circumstances to say Hamas is barbaric and brutal. And therefore he's just simply going off. This is a moment that's not dissimilar to when Donald Trump said the quiet part out loud in 2016 when he was running for president about abortion, where when he was asked directly, do you think that women should be punished for getting an abortion? And he said yes. The reason why he said yes is because, of course, any kind of restriction on abortion punishes women in general. He hadn't thought the talking points. He hadn't thought through the talking points. He did not know that Republicans never say the quiet part out loud when it comes to abortion. They say the doctors are the violent ones. The doctors could be punished, not the poor mothers that are obviously a lot more sympathetic in general to the average population, to the average American. So this is kind of like that. This is a moment where Donald Trump turns around and looks at the situation. He's like, yeah, of course they're going to fucking do this kind of thing. Have you seen, the Gaza Strip? It's chaotic. These guys they're dealing with the chaos. They're dealing with the gang members, not realizing that Israel would, in normal circumstances, use that chaos as an opportunity to justify further incursion. Okay? But I told you even then, I told you yesterday that once he gets the new talking points, if someone from, Miriam Adelson's team or whatever, or Miriam Adelson herself maybe gets into Trump's ear and says, hey, shut the fuck up about Hamas restoring order in this chaotic situation, he'll stop. It's the same thing. It's the same reason why he says now it's 3,000 years of war and I stopped it. Someone told him that. And he really liked it. He really liked that talking point because he had previously never really talked about 3,000 years and how this land was promised to Jews 3,000 years ago. That's like a new thing that he started to say because someone told him that, and now he's just repeating it. Because at the end of the day, I know it sounds fucking silly because we still have this weird false notion in our minds that when someone is in a position of power, we assume that they actually earned that position of power. They're probably at least smarter than they let on. Donald Trump is not smarter than he lets on. That much is clear. Okay. He is a sponge. Someone tells him something. He has his own opinions on certain shit and he never lets it go, like tariffs. Okay. Somewhere along the line, someone told him tariffs are great. You should use tariffs. And he hasn't ever let that go. Okay. But beyond that, when it's an issue that he doesn't give that much of a shit about, he will just repeat whatever the latest person that he trusts in his orbit told him. Okay, Donald Trump is not smart, full stop. No, I know. I never said he is. I do not think he's a smart person. I don't think he's smart at all. I think he's cunning and conniving, and I think he's cunning in the exact ways that you need to be in order to be successful in this day and age. But that doesn't mean he is a smart person at all. He's not a well-read person. He's not a curious person. He's not an intellectual. He is just a good salesperson. And as a good salesperson, he is trying to sell this. And the product that he's always trying to sell, obviously, is himself first and foremost. He's fucking narcissistic. And that is what he's doing here. In any case, we'll look at what Donald Trump has said about the latest on this ceasefire deal, even though Israel is already claiming and screaming bloody murder that Hamas is actually not abiding by the ceasefire deal. And we'll see what Donald Trump is saying about it nonetheless.
President, on Gaza, how long will it take Hamas to disarm, and can you guarantee that is going to happen?
Well, they're going to disarm, and because they said they were going to disarm. And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them.
How will you do that?
I don't have to explain that to you. But if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. They know I'm not playing games. Okay? Now, we did something monumental. We got the hostages back. That was the first thing we had to do. Above all else, get the hostages back. Now, they misrepresented because we were told they had 26, 24 of dead hostages, if we can use those terms. And it seems as though they don't have that because we're talking about a much lesser number. But that's a very tough subject. I want them back. That's what they said. I want them back. Also, they said they were going to disarm. And initially speaking, they needed, they did take out a couple of gangs that were very bad, very, very bad gangs, and they did take them out, and they killed a number of gang members. And that didn't bother me much, to be honest with you. That's okay. We had a couple of very bad gangs. It's no different than other countries. Like Venezuela sent their gangs into us.
Dude, I can't believe this is the guy who was complaining about the time photo. Look at how he looks like shit. He looks so bad, bro. I know this is not the main point here. And I already covered his statement about like what Hamas is doing in the Strip and why it's like restoring order and like they're fucking scouting out and like apprehending and even sometimes executing collaborators and stuff like that. And engaging in gun battles with the collaborative elements that have gotten arms from Israel or are trying to take advantage of a power vacuum inside of the Strip. But like while he's correct on one front in terms of like, we knew that Hamas was going to do this. They were going to do this. They have to deal with these gangs. They're very brutal gangs. Okay. Some of these guys are literal fucking ISIS affiliates and shit. Right. On the other hand, he then compares it to extrajudicial killings of like Venezuelan fishermen, okay, off the coastline of Venezuela. And that obviously is fucking insane. Having said that, I can't let go of the fact that Donald Trump, on the one hand, looks like this all the time, and on the other hand, is bent, butthurt, pissed off about the time photo, the time angle. Is this supposed to be, do you look good here, Mr. President? Should they have posted this?
And we took care of those gangs. We have Washington, D.C. is one of the safest cities in the country. It was one of the worst cities in the country if you go back just a little while ago, right? Now it's safe. You can walk to work. Isn't it nice? But we have told them we want to disarm, and they will disarm. And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. And it'll happen quickly and perhaps violently. But they will disarm. Do you understand me?
Yes. You say
because
quickly.
Everyone says, oh, well, they won't disarm. They will disarm. And I spoke to Hamas, and I said, you're going to disarm, right? Yes, sir, we're going to disarm. That's what they told me. They will disarm, or we will disarm them. Got it? Okay.
What is the deadline you're going to put on that? You say quickly, sir. Sir, you say quickly, but what is the deadline you're going to put on that before you take action?
A reasonable period of time. Pretty quickly. A reasonable period of time.
Congratulations on the peace you achieved in the Middle East.
Yeah, Israel is already back to its Israel ways. By the way, following the transfer of only 4 bodies in violation of the agreement, Israel decided to reduce the entry of humanitarian aid into Gaza and prevent the departure of Gazans to Egypt, according to Channel 12. A security source said that following the release of only 4 deceased, the recommendation to the political echelon would be to stop the entry of aid into Gaza and not open the Rafah crossing. What aid? Barely anything has been allowed into Gaza. This is, once again, Israel doing fuck shit. It's Israel doing Israel shit. And I told you that Israel was going to do this Israel shit. Israel is fucking up the bag. Someone needs to stress this to Donald Trump. Someone who has Donald Trump's ear needs to say, hey, sir, Mr. President, Israel's making you look really bad. Remember all the positive news coverage you got, even though Time magazine also showed your nussy? Ultimately, it was a round of positive news coverage, and it made you feel really good about yourself because you're a deal maker president. You're the peace president. Well, guess what? Israel is trying to do everything in their fucking power to throw that peace deal in the trash. The problem here, of course, is that I suspect he will go along with whatever Israel wants to do, as I said earlier, as I said before, and that he will probably end up saying Hamas is violating the deal, you know? Why did they only release 4 bodies? Oh, yeah, that's a great question. It's because it's under rubble, as far as I understand. And not only is it under rubble, not only are most of the bodies like hard to extract, okay? They, from what I understand, have also said to Israel, they communicated to Israel that this process would take time, as far as like getting all of the bodies extracted. I thought they had the bodies ready to be returned. No. From if you recall, I talked to Jeremy Scahill about this as well. Like, this was a big point in the negotiations that Hamas actually communicated to the Israeli side, to the Israeli envoys, that like they don't have the capacity to instantly find all of the bodies and return them. It was so much a point of contention. That I immediately spotted this as a reason that Israel will violate the ceasefire deal, if they actually violate the ceasefire deal at all, if Donald Trump doesn't actually force them to abide by the ceasefire deal. So like it was obvious that the 2 points of contention here that Israel could always use to not abide by the standards set forth in the 20-point peace plan, or whatever it's called, was going to be, one, not all the bodies are recoverable instantly, and they'll say, oh, you're still hiding the bodies or something. And the Hasbara line on this is that they're hiding the bodies because they've done something to the bodies, and they don't want people to know what they've done to the bodies, right? That's like what they're trying to angle this as, specifically the female hostages. And the other side of this is the full disarmament. They always have those 2 lines that they can push if they wanted to. Now, of course, once again, if you don't understand that like Israel is the spoiling party here and has been from the start, and you think Hamas is untrustworthy and Hamas is the party that is like spoiling these deals, as the way that like the media has falsely reported over and over again, in an effort to protect Israel's reputation to the best of their ability at a time when there's unprecedented negative associations with Israel, then you're probably going to be more inclined to believe that, yeah, Hamas is actually not doing the right thing, and Israel is just, Israel is violating the ceasefire because Hamas is actually something along those lines. But you already, if you're in here, if you've been in here, if you've seen me cover this stuff over and over again for the past 2 years, you have seen that it is always Israel using using anything they can to refuse to give aid, refuse to let aid flow into the Gaza Strip, in an effort to continue its bombing campaign, in an effort to continue its incursions, in an effort to continue its ethnic cleansing, because that is the highest priority. Okay? So there's a bunch of different things that are going on here.
Thank you very much.
And my question is regarding Argentina. Does continue...
Are you from Argentina?
I'm from Argentina, yes.
I like the Argentina. I like them much better than ABC. Than ABC fake news.
Me too, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Does continued U.S. support for Argentina depend
The entire
on the result?
country. Don't even know if it's like a hostile reporter from Argentina or not. He's like, I like Argentina. It's better than ABC fake news. Argentina is the best country. I just gave you 20 billion. I just gave you 20 billion. Fake news. He's going to say no aid for Argentina if a communist wins and Malay loses.
Also,
Wait,
the
really?
upcoming legislative elections and the ability of the government to pass long-lasting reforms through Congress?
Well, I think if they don't do that, we're not going to be around very long. Scott, can you handle that one, please?
We're confident that the president's party will and the coalition will do well in the election, and this aid.
That's so incredible, dude. That is just like, this is transparent intervention in the electoral process of another country, and it's just another fucking Tuesday morning in this administration. Back in the day, these kinds of things used to be hush hush. Now they just openly say it on television. Okay? We gave him 20 billion. If the opposition wins, we gave him 20 billion. If the opposition wins, we'll take it away. That is crazy. That's just in broad fucking daylight. Like these things used to matter. Okay. Like think about the Iran Contra affair, right? When it was, when the Iran Contra affair was like unearthed, this became a major point of contention at the time. And I feel like it's just a Monday for this administration. They just do it out loud. They just openly do it. They're gangsters. They're doing gangster capitalism in broad daylight. Doesn't even fucking matter. What are you going to do about it? It blows my fucking mind, dude. And it doesn't matter. People genuinely don't care. Trump says U.S. could cut aid for Buenos Aires if Argentina moves leftward in this month's legislative election. This is the headline from Associated Press. And yet people seemingly don't give a fuck. I don't know how the Argentinian population will react to this. I think that they will probably not be as appreciative of Donald Trump's direct intervention, especially at a time when Milei has lost a lot of the initial support that he had, because, you know, once he implemented his policies, people realize maybe they don't like it so much. Okay, so I do feel like this could potentially have the same like Mark Carney style impact that it had in Canada, where it will negatively polarize people that associate openly with the American administration. But then again, I don't know enough about like the Argentine feelings, the Argentinian population. So I'm only speculating here. But I do know that from what I understand, they don't actually like Milei all that much. And I don't know. I would go so far as to say that, like, obviously, in all circumstances, when your economy is on fire, regardless of who is manning that ship, as long as that ship is fucking sinking, people are going to not like the leadership. They're going to say, fuck the leaders. They are responsible for the economic turmoil. Even Donald Trump is experiencing a bit of this, right? So I suspect that this kind of direct intervention that violates the sovereignty of the Argentinian population will probably not be helpful for Milei's chances of maintaining power.
Is predicated on robust policies, and going back to the failed Peronist policies would cause a U.S. rethink.
Thank you very much.
It's a great question. It's a little like New York. You know, you're reading in Argentina.
Oh, my fucking Lord. It's a little bit like New York. We're going to deny aid to New York if the socialists win. We're going to make sure we cripple New York, the finance capital of the country. Good luck.
About New York, we have a problem. We have a communist who's 33 years old, doesn't know a damn thing. Practically, he's never worked a day in his life. And he sort of caught on, right? And I'm not going to send a lot of money to New York. I don't have to. You know, the money comes all through the White House. And if they're going to be sending us stupid policies, I mean, communist policies, which is proven for thousands of years doesn't work. You know, we don't have to prove it again. We're not going to ruin one of our great cities, because we'll make that great. We will clean up the crime in about 30 days. It took 12 days to do Washington, D.C., so New York is bigger. And Chicago, we've already made a lot of progress despite fighting from the government, but Chicago's doing great. Memphis is doing really great. You know, we have great support there from the political leaders. They said, please come in and clean up crime. And we love it. We've in 1 week, Memphis is so good. It's so much better. We'll have it within a month. We'll have that into a safe city again. And all of these cities, we want to clean them up. We don't like that opposition. But if somebody's going to be a communist mayor of New York, it's a fluke if he gets in. There are a lot of failed people that he's running against. I mean, you have inferior candidates or something, because it's impossible to think that New York City can have a communist mayor. He's a communist. He's not a socialist, by the way. There's a big difference. He's a communist. He's down and dirty. He's a communist. He hates police. He wants to get rid of all police. I mean, how can a policeman? He hates Jewish people, and yet he's got Jewish people supporting. He hates Jewish people.
This part is so funny, because this is just like when Trump said, you know, a lot of your children to Jewish donors at like a Jewish summit. Remember when Donald Trump turned around and was like, you know, a lot of your kids are protesting against Israel too. This is like that, where he's just, once again, You're supposed to not say the quiet part out loud. You're not supposed to say a lot of Jewish people are still voting for him, even though he hates Jews. Like, you're supposed to say he hates Jews and Jews are terrified, right? But he still turns around and says, you know, a lot of Jews are supporting this guy. Can you believe it? It's fucking awesome. I don't know why he does this. I don't know why he is just like incapable of finding the appropriate talking points. I guess I would hate him more if he did do that. Because, you know, a competent leadership that wants to disparage Zoran Mamdani would say the other thing. He'd be like, he hates Jews and Jews don't support him and they're terrified. They want to leave New York or something. Like, they would just lie, right? Yeah, and also communism has failed for thousands of years. Donald Trump is a primitive accumulation understander. For those of you who don't actually comprehend the way his mind works, he actually read Das Kapital. He knows that Marx's analysis of primitive accumulation was like primitive communism, right? And that's what he means. He's like, it's a failure. You need barter. You need barter. Folks, it's a failure. It was a failure. Enclosures were good. Class struggle is eternal. Enclosures were good, but I'm actually on the side of the capital owning class. That's what he means when he says it was a failure for thousands of years. Okay. He's like, think about it. Think about it. People used to go out and all the land was public. What good did that do? Nothing at all. We need barter. Yeah. The other side of the story that I find very humorous is just on my own, at least, is like, whenever he makes a distinction between communism and socialism, and he'd be like, he's a communist. He's not even a socialist. Socialists are fine, folks. It's the communists that are scary. Yeah. They, like, the one time you got a dude who's like, I want to do modest social democratic reforms, and I don't mind calling myself a democratic socialist. All of a sudden, these guys are like, Nancy Pelosi was so fine. She's actually invested in the continuation of capitalism. It turns out it was actually good. The liberals were fine, folks. These guys are so much scarier than the liberals. They're communists. They're not even socialists. They're radical communists. Yeah. All of a sudden, when someone even, when a popular figure calls themselves openly a socialist, then they have to like start changing the way that they attack this stuff a little bit more, because people go, wait a minute. Now you think Nancy Pelosi is not a radical communist? Because you used to say that all the time. I thought Kamala Harris was a communist and a fascist and a socialist. And now you're saying Zoran is a socialist, communist, fascist, but the rest of the Democrats are not somehow? I'm confused.
So it comes through the White House. The funding for New York and for every place comes through the White House. And I'm very generous. And I was always very generous with New York, even when you had opposition there, but I was always very generous. But I wouldn't be generous to a communist, a guy that's going to take the money and throw it out the window, because you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars.
Yeah. I wouldn't be generous to a communist who would take the money and throw it out the window, as opposed to Javier Milei, which I gave $20 billion to after the IMF also did another bailout. That guy is not throwing the money away. Whereas, you know what's throwing the money away? Using the pre-existing funding mechanisms to beef up American infrastructure in one of the most robust public transit cities, if not the most robust public transit city in the fucking country. How dare he? How dare he throw the money away by giving it to the fucking working poor, or giving it to every person that lives in New York by investing back into public transit? This is wasting the money away. You're supposed to take the money and throw rock concerts for yourself, like my goat Javier Milei.
And we're not going to let somebody get into office and squander the taxpayer money from this country. We're not going to let it happen. So it's a little bit like that with, if you take a look, Argentina. If the president doesn't win, I know the person that he'd be running against, I believe, probably. We probably have the person. A person is extremely far left and a philosophy that got Argentina into this problem in the first place. So we would not.
Okay. Filling out the anarcho-capitalist over and over again. And he's not a socialist. So what the fuck are you talking about? None of this makes sense if you hold it up to like a little bit of scrutiny, right? He's like, oh, this is the same principle behind like People always being like, socialism is when one guy has all the money and everyone else is poor, as opposed to capitalism where some people have the money, some people don't have the money. And it's like everyone goes, okay, but the graph you're showing about socialism resembles what we're experiencing currently. Are you saying that we're living under socialism right now? Is that what you're claiming? It doesn't make sense. It literally does not make sense. He's like, that's right. Malay is very good, which is why he needs more and more billions. Okay, he's doing capitalism the right way, which is why we will support him, even though he lights the money on fire. Okay, it doesn't make sense because Malay isn't even running for re-election right now. It's a midterm. There is no guy. I know, but he's talking about like the Peronis taking back control over the parliament. I assume that's what he's implying here. That's what he's talking about, which will create. I mean, it's already, from what I understand, it's already created some setbacks for Malay's austerity agenda because people very quickly responded with, "We are poorer than ever before." Anyway, from Glenn, I know. Trump. Oh, the irony of Trump's strong insinuation today about Miriam Adelson that she loves Israel more than the U.S. is a statement that is prohibited and subject to punishment as anti-Semitism under the expanded IHRA hate speech rules Trump forced American universities to adopt. Yeah. Of course. But as is the case, well, first of all, it's not even false. Like, let's be real. I do think that Miriam Adelson cares more about Israel. Like, I think she cares mostly about money, right? Like, her number one priority is money. But as far as like the spiritual stuff goes, as far as like the idealism goes, like, yes, I think that she does care quite a bit about fucking Israel, which is precisely the reason why she gave $250 million to Donald Trump, so that Donald Trump would continue demonstrating unlimited fealty to Israel. So, you know, we have never been at an impasse or a crossroads where like her highest priority, which is probably to expand gambling in the state of Texas, is met with Israel. Only then would we find out if she cares more about making money or more about Israel. Only then would we find out what is her highest priority. But it's not wrong to say that she has she plays a fairly high amount of emphasis in her advocacy work in the direction of Israel. That's not a crazy fucking statement to make. But I think this is more so Glenn Greenwald talking about the idiocy of the IHRA definition, because Trump's assessment of what Miriam Adelson is doing is not a falsehood. It is correct. He knows it firsthand from his experiences with Miriam Adelson. Like, why the fuck would Donald Trump release Jonathan Pollard when he was president last time? Other than the fact that Sheldon, Miriam's husband, who died, the dude who looks like fucking Jabba the Hutt, the gambling magnate, told Trump to do that. That's it. That's the reason. And then he literally gave his private jet to Jonathan Pollard to fly him to Israel, where he was treated like a hero. So it's so fucking stupid to be like, oh, you can't say these things because God forbid you will be called anti-Semitic. It's like, okay.